Okay, so 11, it said to solve by completing the square. I told you yesterday that some of these, if you would rather factor or there were some that you couldn't complete the square and then we would go from there. That you would still need to check to see if they were factorable. So, like on 11, okay, 11 you could actually factor this one if you see it, okay. So on this one where I have x squared plus 6x minus 7 equal to 0, I could factor this just as easy as complete the square. Okay, so like 11, you actually have two options. You can either factor or you can complete the square. If you're going to complete the square on 11, so first off I want to have x squared plus 6x. I'm going to put my blank, and I'm going to send this 7 over to the other side and have 7 plus whatever my blank is. Now, what's going to go in that blank? What am I going to do right here? 6 divided by 2, quantity squared. I'm going to do the same thing here. So then this left side is just going to turn into x plus 3 squared. What's the right side going to turn into? What is 6 divided by 2? 3. 3 squared. So I have 7 plus 9, which is really going to be what? 16. Now it just becomes solving by isolation. So what do I need to do to get rid of the square? Square root. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So when I take the square root of both sides, I'm going to end up with x plus 3 equal to plus or minus 4. Okay, biggest thing here is, again, you're going to have two solutions for the most part, or a lot of times. Okay, you're either going to have two solutions or you're going to have one. The only time you're going to have one is if everything in that radical goes away and it becomes 0. Okay, that's not the case here. So, how do I get rid of the 3 on the left side? Subtract. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. So I have x equals negative 3 plus or minus 4. Now, I'm not going to leave it like that because it's going to actually give me a value. So what is negative 3 plus 4? 1. So there's one answer. What is negative 3 minus 4? Negative 7. Yep. With number 8, it says determine the value that would complete the square as a binomial squared. So again, this is one that we necessarily wouldn't want to, we wouldn't want to do completing the square. This is why we don't want to do completing the square. Okay? Because whatever I have in here, what's going to go kind of in that blank, like what do I need to divide and square in here? What's my middle term? 1/5, right? So it's really like 1/5 divided by 2 over 1. So because I have a fraction, this is why I don't want to do completing the square with these. Okay? I can still do it and I can still solve it because I can write any of these as a binomial squared. So what is 1/5? If we divide by 2 over 1, how do we divide fractions? Keep change, flip. Keep flame. So what's 1/5 times 1/2? 1/10. Okay? So as far as the number that goes in that blank, it would be 1/10. Or I'm sorry, 1/10 squared, excuse me. So 1/10 is just dividing it by 2. So what's my binomial going to look like? X plus 1/10 quantity squared. As far as what's out there. right? Now, what value is actually going to go, like the actual value that, that would go in that blank? What is 1/10 squared? No, 1/100th. Because 10 squared is so the same way then with 5. So I'm going to take this number right here. So what's -8? So I'm going to take basically -8 divided by 2 and square it. So what's -8 divided by 2? -4. What's -4 squared? 16. So 16 is what really goes in the blank to make it a perfect square. So then how would I write it as a binomial squared? All I'm going to do is take this number that I get right here and put it right there. So x, what's -8 divided by 2? -4.